I do also want to apologize. I guess last meeting when I acknowledged for the help that we got from the community, and I didn't mention the name of the foundation, which is the Norwich School Foundation. I apologize about that. Didn't mean to not name it, but tell you the truth, I couldn't think of it. But anyways, all right. But thank you for your help. You had two two fundraisers that were. The last one was very good too, over on Northwest Highway. You have one coming up again. December 8th coming up. Yeah. So we're doing very well. The foundation. If you have any questions, you can get with Fiona about it. If you're looking to get involved or help out and everything, because I know she could always use help or just finding out where it's at. And again, like I said, I apologize. I didn't mean to leave it out. I mean, you guys were a big impact in getting the funding for the locks and doors from the grant monies from the township on that. So thank you again. That's all that we have right now. You covered the smoke alarms.
We're all set.
We're all set.
Any questions related to roads?
Is there an update to the water fountains?
No, there isn't yet. I know Mike wanted to approach the gentleman, and I haven't had an opportunity yet to reach out to him and give him a phone call to ask him, you know, if he's still willing to make the adjustments for those water fountains. So after tonight's meeting, I will reach out to the volunteer and ask him if he's still willing to do that.
Well, I also think that we talked about this enough, and I know it's not easy, but we need to put a timeline on it and get it taken care of, because it is a lot of work that needs to be done, and I understand fully that, you know, if he's unable to at the time or whatever.
No, he had made mention he would do it at the October
Well, then
meeting.
we need to finalize the time so
Okay.
that we can get this going.
Because my understanding is you wouldn't want to open that up when there would be the potential of students being in the building. So trying to make those arrangements to have the work done over Christmas break when there's a 2-week window of no
There's
students.
a little bit more of a time
would
where we could do
probably
some of
be-
it, yes, and also.
And that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Communications?
We met last Thursday, November 15th, and the committee was Mrs. Paletti, Alan Kita, Mr. Jason Murray, myself, Maria Lala, and Sam Palazzo was not able to attend. But basically what we did is we have been working tirelessly as a group to finalize the numbers and pull numbers from the AFRs and the audit and the budget reports for our infographic that we would like to present tonight. Alan is going to take the community through that infographic and the information, and then our next step is for Mrs. Paletti to take the infographic, present it to our village president, Mr. Mayor Shimura, and hopefully we can get that disseminated in an upcoming water bill to all our village residents. And if we can't get it through the water bill, we'll figure out another way of getting that information to our community. So a lot of hard work went into this. We spent months going through these reports, and you'll see the work that Alan has done, and Jason created the infographic. So Jennifer, anything else?
No.
Yep.
Good job.
Let's try it. SOS. Michelle, SOS.
There
There
we go. Education. And participation. And then go down to the bottom and, you're gonna do that. Again. Got it?
Go for it. You want me to stand up with you?
No, okay.
Okay.
Okay. And I want to thank the board letting me present this information tonight, and as a member of the Communications Committee, and as a representative of the Communications Committee. So what I'm going to do is we're going to run through the presentation first, and then we're going to come back and look at some of the reports that were used in developing the information for the infographic. So I am a volunteer community member, so is Jason. So any time that we spent on this was our own free time. And over the last 3.5 months, I probably got a little over 4 weeks of time working on these numbers, just to give you an idea of my commitment to getting everything correct. Okay. One of the reasons why the communications chose to do this was because over the last several years, there's been a lot of talk in the community about how the school board's been spending money and what happened to the reserves and where the money went. So the challenge was to put together the data that we could use to support this, and then to put that all in an infographic, not to highlight all the data, but just the data that represented the greatest amount of spending that contributed to the spend down in the reserves. Okay, so we started with auditors' reports, annual financial reports, annual statements of affairs and budgets. And some of these we had some reports, but not other reports. Some of these we had to convert into auditors' reports before we could build a spreadsheet. So that took a little bit of time. So we made the decision to basically combine these reports so we could have several years of data next to each other, so we could see if there was any trends in the data that would tell us where the money went. And then our methodology was we were going to compare everything after 2011 back to 2011. So 2012 to 2011, 2013, 11, 14, 15, 16, and so on. So that's kind of how we did the calculations. So what I ended up with is this report here. It's over 8 pages long, and you can see how easy it is to look across the columns and to see what the relevant data was, or what the trends were telling us. Like I said, I told you how we did the calculations. Then we went back and verified all the data for accuracy. And if something didn't balance out, then we went back to the AFRs, so the annual financial reports, to get the exact numbers out of the reports to make sure everything was correct. So we tried to do a very comprehensive study of the numbers. Okay. So what we found, and this doesn't represent 100%, but it's close. Special education and non-program funds, which is LASIK, accounted for about $3.3 million of the spending for the reserves. We had an increase in student enrollment, about 14%. Staff increases, almost 24%. Our general administration, most of this came out of the education fund, and really not much out of the administration. I think the administration part of it was only $43,000 difference. So they've stayed pretty tight on the budget in that area. Operation maintenance plus fire protection and life safety. This was $1.2 million. Now what I found was going through the data is that in 2013 there was a transfer of $1.3 million from working cash to the fire prevention and life safety fund, and that most of that was spent the next year. Unfortunately, the way the accounting is done, that $1.3 1.3 million added to the total of the spend down for that year, which I think was another 750 or 775,000 in addition to that. So that's what accounted for. And then out of that 1.3 million, about 950,000 of it was spent the next year for improvements to the building. Okay, transportation, municipal, and Social Security. Obviously, transportation, a lot of that was for transporting the special education students back and forth to LASIK, among other things. And then the municipal and Social Security, that is for the non-certified personnel. That goes to their retirement account. And if you looked at those two categories together, it would be about 478,000. But what we did was we also lumped in the debt services and our tort fund in there, which brought the total down. Okay. I'd also developed some additional reports here based on the information that was in the annual financial reports and the ASAs. The first two would be from the ASA, and then the last two would be from the annual financial reports. So this would tell us base versus our baseline year of 2011, just like the other reports, of how many additional students we added. Would also tell us the total number of personnel for the salary schedule. The results of operations was key in me identifying that $1.3 million that was transferred. And then we had the reserve balance, the reserve fund balance shows actually by account how much was either spent in excess or added back to as a deficiency or an expenditure to that fund. So we can actually go back and track it by each fund as far as what the reserve balance is. Okay. What does this show us? Basically, that the okay. The fund balance went from $9.9 million all the way down to 2.5 during the 6 years that we compared to 2011. And this is all prior to the grade centers. So obviously the board knew that this was unsustainable and that they had to make some changes, and that's when we went to grade centers. So once we get the data for 2018, we'll be able to see how grade centers compares to the two elementary schools as far as what the numbers are. Any questions so far?
Yes. So judging by the numbers, if I understand correctly, almost half of that $7 million was spent between special education, staff for that special education, and transportation for special education. That is mandated and that the school happily does as a service to the children of the community. But that money was not spent on roofs or plumbing. This is people that moved into the area and to provide services for the residents of the community, correct?
As far as I can tell, yes. And this is the report that I came up with that is based on the auditor's reports. So we started with 2011 on the left-hand side, and then we did 2012 to 2017, but we separated that out a little bit, and then we did another break for 2018 and 19, which we don't have the numbers for yet. So we go down here.